I'm going to hit start broadcast, okay?
Okay, great. Rock on.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, I'm Janet Baker, and on behalf of Paper Tiger and Ann McGurty, we want to thank you for attending the webinar today. Because we know that there are different levels of Paper Tiger users on the call, we will be covering the basics for those that are new and then lean toward more advanced functions, and we'll try to cover as much as possible within the hour allotted. Just to let you know, there is a chat section and a question section in the lower right corner of your screen where you can submit questions. Note there is a drop-down box for who you send your questions to, either to all attendees or to the presenters only. We will try our best to answer questions during the call today, but if we run out of time, we will be posting the questions and answers on our blog under the webinar category. This is also where we will be posting the webinar recordings as soon as they are available. As a reminder, all attendees for today's webinar will be entered into Paper Tiger's new Apple iPad contest ending June 30th. And Ann has again graciously offered 30 free minutes over the phone for anyone interested in more professional one-on-one assistance. We want to make our webinars as fun and flexible as possible, so feel free to let us know what you want to learn about for future webinars. You can send all feedback to us at sales@thepapertiger.com or in the comments section of the webinar blog post. We have with us today Fred Holgado of Paper Tiger and Ann McGurty, CEO of Strategize and Organize. Fred will be presenting the basics of getting started with Paper Tiger Online, and Ann will be presenting the life cycle of file management and also what she calls a reality webinar demonstrating the answers to real questions that have been asked during your webinar registrations. Ann is a professional speaker, productivity expert, and author. If you want to learn more about Ann and her services, please visit her website at strategizeandorganize.com. She may be in Colorado, but she's nationally recognized as an expert and works with people throughout the U.S. in person and virtually. Now I'll turn the call over to Fred. Hi, Fred.
Hi, guys. Hi, Janet. Thank you so much for having me. Like Janet said, we're going to be covering today a little bit of the basics in terms of how to get a database set up, what is a database, what's a location, printing some tabs, and then we're going to talk a little bit about network permissions. And I know you guys have had some questions about that and how to actually get it set up and get it started so that multiple people can be on the same Paper Tiger database. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. If you are new and have never seen Paper Tiger before, this is what the dashboard of Paper Tiger looks like after you've signed up. Like I've mentioned before, you can either sign up for a free account that lets you file 100 items for free, or you can, if you have a paid account, those limits are either increased or removed depending on the plan that you choose. Either way, once you get to the dashboard, the first thing that you're going to go ahead and do is create a database. And I'm going to turn this over to Ann for a little bit so that she can tell us a little bit about what a database is, and we can go from there. Ann?
Hi, thanks, Fred. Okay, when you're creating a database, what you're thinking about with a database is a common area of files. You may have, if you are in a home office environment, you may have your business database, which would be the name of your business, and then you may have a separate database, which are your family files. And the only reason you would separate that is if you have a database that you do not want anyone else to be looking at your business files. That would be in a home office environment. In a corporate environment, I've worked with large facilities, for instance, a public utility company that's about 1,000 employees, and each department has their own database. For example, the legal department will have a legal database. The finance department would have a finance database. And each of those are separate databases, so none of them can ever look at each other's files. If you want users within your organization to have access in the find function of the Paper Tiger to look at those files, you need to keep them contained within one database. Okay, I hope that helps why you want separate databases versus why you would want an individual one.
Great. So the bottom line is that if you want to keep things separate, keep separate databases such as a home and a work database if that's the case, or if you want to keep things together, such as you want to have your entire company in one database to be able to search across different locations within that database, you want to keep them together. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and create a new database just to show you guys the process, and then we're going to go ahead and use one of the existing databases that we have here to show you some more examples. So in order to create a new database, all you have to do is just go up to this button here, click the button, and you'll see a pop-up that prompts you to enter your database name. As far as the database name goes, you need to call it something that's distinctive and that you'll be able to remember at a first glance. So for example, I'm going to call this home files, since I want this database to be about stuff that I've got at home. So as soon as you hit enter or click the button to accept, you'll see a green bar at the top that confirms that your home files database was successfully created, and then you'll see this you'll see a new link where the list of databases is, where you can go ahead and access the new database. So if I go ahead and click on that, the first thing that I'll see here is an empty database. Basically, there's no locations, and the first thing that the application prompts you to do is to create a location. And once again, a location is another paper tiger concept that I'll let Ann explain since she's so good at it. So go ahead, Ann, tell us what a database or location is. I'm sorry.
A location is, when we're referring to locations with the paper tiger, I want users to think about the functionality of the space that you're going to put files in. For instance, you may be sitting at your desk and the drawer closest to you is going to be the physical place where you're going to start some files. And that location name may be referred to action, which means those are your action files, your current project files. So the location name would be action. If you were to turn around and you have a credenza behind your desk, and those are files that, I wanted to use a different example, those may be your client files. And so you would add a location called client files and describe that as the files in the credenza behind Ann's desk. When you are setting up a location, you want to think about the capacity of how many files that drawer can hold. Most file drawers can hold anywhere from 25 to 100, depending on if it's a deep file box or if it's a lateral file box. So the client files are a lateral file. These are the client files behind Ann's desk. The capacity is probably going to be 100 because there's two very long drawers in that credenza area. So we list those client files behind my desk, and there's 100 items in there. So now we have two locations. We have the action, which is sitting to the right of me at my desk, and then I've got the client files behind me. Another location that is very common for people to refer to is a reference drawer. Now, reference files are anything that you don't refer to often, something that you refer to maybe quarterly or annually. They will be in a remote location where it doesn't need to be as easily accessible. So the description may be down the hall in the storage room. And it may be 2 or 3 vertical drawers. So you may have 300 items that are stored in that area. So you create a capacity of 300 items. And then we go ahead and add that location. Now, when we were setting up locations, there are key factors that we were looking at. One is the name of the location that we refer to as action, client, or reference. The description is to help people to be guided to where that physical location is. The capacity is to let you know how much room you have, and then there's a benefit with the paper tiger that once you have the capacity number, you can create labels ahead of time so that you can now set up the physical drawer ready to then start storing pieces of paper into those files. I'm going to give you a little hint here that the reason a lot of people don't file is they don't want to be bothered with having to make up the name of a file folder. And so they just procrastinate putting it into a file because they can't think of the name of it. So the Paper Tiger is creating the template to have a numerical system, for instance, with the action 1 through 25, that you now have 25 empty folders ready to start filing. The reference files, again, you've got 300 ready to go so that you don't have the excuse of saying, I don't have any room, I don't have any files made. So I'm going to have Fred turn over now and show us how we are going to create the labels so that you have that template and physical system set up.
Great. Okay, so I'll show you guys how to do this, and it's just awesome. It's very quick to do, very easy, and it's going to save you a lot of time. So once you go ahead and set up your locations in Paper Tiger, you decide what the location is going to be called and the capacity of that location. Once you've done that, what you need to do is set up the physical part of the location, which is actually the folders inside the drawer, just like Ann said. So in order to do this, instead of having to actually write each folder tab by hand, we can get Paper Tiger to generate this for us. Once you go ahead and click on the Print Labels / Tabs tab up at the top of the screen, you'll be presented with this page. And the first section of the page asks you what template you'd like to use for the tabs. If you click down, if you have a paid account, you'll be able to see all these different Avery file folder templates. And what this is we've gone through the Avery catalog and figured out which templates can be used with hanging file folders. So you can either go out and buy these at Office Max, Office Depot, or wherever you get your supplies, or chances are you might actually have some on hand. So these are great because some of them are perforated already. Some of them are just stick-ons that you actually just stick on the folder. For now, I'm going to go ahead and show you with the self-cut tabs because this comes out with an outline, so it's easier to show you. So I'll select the self-cut tabs, and now at the bottom here you'll see that there's a list of all the locations that I've created, and along with it there's a number that indicates the total number of items or folders that we're going to have in that location. So if I wanted to print file labels for this location, I would go ahead and hit this checkbox, and as soon as you do that, you can see that it's prompting me to print out number 1 through 25 because I have a total of 25 items in that location. So if I go ahead and hit generate the tabs PDF, what's going to happen is Paper Tiger is going to generate a tab for each one of the folders that I'm supposed to have inside of that file cabinet. So Ann, why don't you tell us a little bit about how to install these tabs?
Okay, thanks, Fred. This is kind of simple now because what we just did was we used the generic format that the Paper Tiger includes in all copies of the Paper Tiger online. You literally just take this PDF and print it out. And you're going back to the basics, and we're cutting around the lines. And where you can see down the center, you want to cut across right down the center of the page vertically, where it says fold here and then action 2, action 4. You want to cut that line only, and then on the border of the right-hand side and the left-hand side of the paper, you want to cut on those edges where you've got action 1 and then fold here on the far right side. So now you have 2 separate blocks of strips of paper, and then you want to cut across all the horizontal lines from the top of each, action 1, action 3, action 5. And then you're literally going to fold over those little tabs. And the reason you, once you have those little folded over tabs, you insert them into the plastic tabs that come with a Pendaflex file folder. Now, the reason you want to make sure that you use the double folded sheet is that just a single piece of paper is going to slide in and out of that little plastic tabby. So you really want to have the width of this. Okay, now what I want to do, in the past, Fred, we've been able to show people what the Pendaflex file folders are.
Sure, let's go ahead and...
the type of folders that people, they always ask me, so now what kind of folders do I use? You want to go and get the basic Pendaflex hanging file folders, and they're usually in that classic army green. And here we've got a picture of it, and you're going to pick up a box of those to get started. The majority of my clients have always used letter size, unless you're legal, you're an attorney's office or a mortgage office or real estate. Those are the only offices that tend to seem to use legal size. So the majority of us then stick with the letter size. Now, when you see in this picture, the little white tabs on the top are what I'm referring to where you insert the plastic tab and the labels that we just printed out. One of the hints that I like to use with people is that when you're putting the tabs in, you put the tab in the front of the hanging file folder. It just makes it a little bit less cumbersome when you're going to access the file. Also, with the paper tiger, it's numerical. So we have action 1, action 2, action 3, action 4. And sometimes people get a little confused, you know, which tab, because it's got a lot of books in the back of it, which book do you put it in? And I'm like, let's just keep it really consistent. All the odd numbers go on the far left in the front, and all the even numbers go staggered over one position to the right. So all the left margins are the odd numbers, and the even numbers are down over to the second position. Excuse me. That also helps you to see very quickly if you're missing a number or if a file folder is out of place. With this current picture, if something's out of place, you don't quite notice it as easily. So that's one of my tips for using the insert file tab. The next question people often ask is, do I need to get those manila folders to go inside of these? And I don't recommend you get it right away, but if you find that you carry the files away with you, yes, I would. And if you have multiple folders that go into Pendaflex, then I would consider it. But it's not an expense that you need to incur right away. All right, let's go to the next part of this. Bud?
Great. Sounds great. Okay. So now we can assume that you created your database where you've made the decision if you want one database, two databases, etc. We've created that database. Then we've gone inside of that database and established our location. So in this case, we've got 3 different locations, and for each one of those locations, you're going to have to print out labels. And again, you can do it all at once. You don't have to do it per location. Print out the labels. And once you've installed the labels on the folders, then you go ahead and put those folders inside of the drawer, and you're done. And now you're finally ready to start filing. So,
can I make a mention? Can I just notice one thing here, Fred?
Sure.
Oftentimes clients will do exactly what we just did here. They'll create action, client files, reference files, and they're using the word files. Now, when you go to print those labels, it'll say client files 1, client files 2. So the word files, when you're creating the locations, is actually going to take a little bit more room on that tab. So my recommendation is that people just use the basic word of client and the basic word reference, so that when they print out the tab, it just says reference 1, reference 2, reference 3. Otherwise, it says client files 1, client files 2, and it just makes it a little bit more clumsy when you look at it. So what you're doing here right now is Fred is showing you that even if you did go ahead and write it out that way and you didn't like the way it was printing on the label, you can just go back to the locations, edit it, and change the name of the way you want the file to read on the tab. And here we use upper lower case. You may decide you want it all in larger fonts, so it's all capital. So then we could always change the location name at that point and just make it all in capital. All right, so that's just the fundamentals on how to get it started. And I'm going to kind of take it away a little bit here with Janet, unless, Fred, you have any other ideas. Because my thought is that we keep getting over and over. We get chats, we get emails, people are asking, okay, I've got it. How do I get started? How do I deal with the mess of papers on my desk? And what I'm going to do is literally go through a week's worth of my mail and show you how I would use it to set up my Paper Tiger system.
And that sounds
Do
great.
you have anything you want to add? Okay, otherwise we're ready to go.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Super. Janet's going to assist me now with being this is going to be like a virtual setting up of the Paper Tiger system. I can actually work with a client and say, let's go through the papers that are on your desk. And I am literally going to do that right now. I went into my inbox, and I have a donor receipt, which is from the Goodwill. I just dropped off some things last week. So this is going to be an action item. So I go into my action file, I open that drawer, and I am going to create a new file, and it's referring to 2011 taxes. It's going to be an open file that is going to be for my taxes for next year. And keywords are Goodwill donor receipt. And my action date is going to be, let's say, February 1, 2012. Okay. Now, we've done several things here. We've created an action file because this is a project that will come to an end, and I want to have it handy every time I refer to something from my 2011 taxes. If it was in my reference drawer, it would be too far away, and I probably wouldn't get to it as easily. The action date gives me we could create a category, beautiful, taxes. The action date actually now will give me a reminder, February 1st, 2012, when I open my Paper Tiger, that I need to do something with this file. And most of us will realize that what that means is we need to prepare this information for my tax accountant. So we're going to add this to Action 1. Okay, add to Action 1. All right, so now we've got that. Now, if I was looking at that physical piece of paper on my desk, we can either now just put it into the action file number 1, or we can just use a teeny-weeny little yellow Post-it note and say A1 and note that that's going to go into my Action 1 file later. All right, the next thing I have on my desk is I have something that I sent to someone. It's a piece of returned mail. It's a return to sender. So this is actually going to be data entry. So under Action, I would create a new file called data entry. And keywords may be Outlook updates. All right, and the action date is probably not that important. Sorry, Janet. The action date is probably not that important, but I just want to make sure that I add in there. Maybe put a keyword note, returned mail. All right, and then add to Action 2. All right, I have another thing that came in. Let's see. I received something medical. Medical, I have okay, this is probably going to be still a new action. And it's going to be medical, 2011. And what it is, it's an explanation of benefits from my insurance company. And what I'm going to do is quarterly. So we're in April. So action date is 6/30. And what I'm going to do on 6/30 is I am going to give this to my accountant to verify my insurance premium, the insurance payments received versus what was paid out. So this is good information to add to my accountant. I want to note something here, that we're adding into the keywords the action to do, but there also is a function within the Paper Tiger where you can allow the screen to show you notes. And in the notes section, let's go ahead here and add this to Action 3, Janet. And then what I would like to do is say, now that I've been doing this a little bit, I think I want to see the notes in the screen when we are adding data. Did I lose you, Janet? Okay, I don't hear Janet, but it says she's talking. Okay.
I'm sorry, hold on one second.
All right, thanks, Janet. Okay. So we're adding that to Action 3, and what we're going to do here is I want it to be able to see the notes section, which is in the Paper Tiger. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the database preferences, and there is a section in here where it refers to the reminders, how often you want to see them, and notes. I want to be able to see my notes, so yes. And I love this feature, notes. And then down at the bottom here, we're now going to accept this information, update the database settings. We're getting there. All right. Technology is great, but don't we all just kind of go, gosh, I wish it would go just a little faster. We never could have done this even 2 years ago, because we didn't have Paper Tiger Online 2 years ago either. All right. Okay, I'm waiting for that database settings to update. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so now let's go into, just open up the medical 2011 again. Let's just open up that file. Okay, when you edit it, now you see that there's a section there called Notes. So let's cut and paste the next action area, what we're going to do to accountants, so that you're giving yourself some kind of direction to make these a practical working file. Whatever works for you, Janet.
You ready for change?
Yeah, go ahead and change that. There we go. All right. So now we have information for what's in the file, and then we see in the notes what we need to do next. All right. So let's go up in my files, and I just want to remember that I have other medical bills that are in my reference files. So let's create a basic folder under my reference files called Medical. So go to the location of reference, and then we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call it Medical. And there's not going to be any date, and there's not going to be any keywords. We're just going to kind of keep it as knowing that I've got some kind of reference information there for in the future. So let's go hit add to reference 1, and we're going to save and close it. Okay, now what I came across is I have some medical literature. I just came across patient services information. So let's go into the search engine and type in medical. And then we hit search. And now I know that the information I'm looking at is just some historical information on my doctors and some of the services that he offers. So when you look at that piece of paper in your inbox, you say, is this action item or is this reference? And since this is just historical information I need to know about my doctor, I am going to enter this into my reference file. So we're going to click on the reference 1 to edit it. And I'm going to add now the keywords and say general patient information from doctor's office. Now, if I'm writing that, I'm realizing I'm being a little generic. I also need to add that it's Dr. Ginsberg. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to save changes. And I put on a little Post-it note that this is reference number 1, or I could just get up and file it over in reference number 2. All right, I came across another piece of paper that was in my inbox, and it was from a networking event that I went last week. And I'm thinking, you know what? This is something that is data entry. So before I even look to a location on the far left, I can go into the search engine and say data entry. And then hit search, and I know I have things that are data entry. I'm going to open up that file, and we're going to add keywords leads from networking events. Okay, now before I close this individual one, what I'm going to do is realize that my assistant is going to be coming in next week. So what I want to do is put in a note and say to my assistant, please verify addresses and update in both Outlook, send out cards, which is a database that I use for keeping up cards to people, and constant contact. So now I have a directive for my assistant, and the action date is going to be changed to, let's say, next Monday, because she's going to come in on Monday. So save changes. And now on Monday, when my assistant opens up my Paper Tiger, she's going to get a pop-up with some directives as to what to do with the data entry that I have left in my action file. And she knows from using the Paper Tiger system where to find the data entry file. Okay, another, gosh, I'm having fun going through my inbox. Anybody want to come to work for me? All right, the next thing I have is I have a speakers magazine. This is going to be, what I'm going to do is speakers magazine is really more a reference. So we're going to go to the reference file, and I am going to create a new reference folder. And I'm actually going to, what I like about it is call it interesting articles. This is what you normally would, this gets lost in so many people's offices. Keywords, National Speakers Magazine. I'm not doing that typing. The keywords, National Speakers Magazine. Okay, now another keyword was, the reason I liked this magazine is they had some really good travel tips. All right, so I wanted to save that so that when I need an article on travel tips, I'll know that it's in this folder. So we're going to add this to reference 2. All right. Okay, my next save and close. All right. Okay, I came across now a bill. All right, darn it. I got to pay some bills here. So let's go to bills or action. So I'm going to go to the location of action. And we are going to create a new file called Bills to Pay. Okay, we're going to drop down to New. and bills to pay. And I'm going to keep that kind of generic, but it's pretty obvious what those are. But action date, we may want to determine that we pay our bills on the 1st and the 15th. So we can pop that up on the 15th of April. Gosh, that's next week. Hope everybody's thinking about their taxes. And then we're going to go ahead and add action 4. And we're going to get there. So what I do is I take this bill that I have, and I'm going to put the little A4 on there, or just go ahead and walk over to the folder and put it in there. Now, that reminded me that, okay, let's make a new reference folder for 2011. So we're going to go to the location of reference. I am going to make a new folder called Bills Paid 2011. And since that was, let's say, public service, so we're going to call that keyword public service. All right, and then go ahead and add to reference 3. All right, so now you've got historical files, and you also have action files. All right. Okay. So now the next thing I'm looking at on my desk here is I have a client file. Okay. I came across Agnes. We're just going to say Agnes, and we're going to client file. We're going to make a new folder. Her name is Agnes. And keywords are, let's say, speaking. Let's see, or I could also do a category as speaking, because I have 3 types of clients. We're going to add a new category, speaking, and then we're going to add it to client 1. I want to go back to my client files, and let's create a new file. And we are going to say City of Denver as an example, as another client. And under category, we're going to put in there training. Okay. And what I'm doing here is I'm showing that I have 2 different kinds of clients. I have a client who is someone who's going to book me for a speaking engagement. I have another client who I do training, and then I may have another client who is a paper tiger consulting. So you can now organize, go ahead and you can add a new client. And we've got, say, Cindy. And we're going to put down in the category that she's a new category, Paper Tiger Consulting. And I'm going to put a note in there and say in the note, currently using the desktop. Would like to use online after tax season. She's an accountant. So I'm going to put an action date on there. Let's give her a week after taxes. So April 20th. That's good. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and add to client 3. So what's kind of nice about this is there's several things that we did here. We say I have 250 clients, and they're actually bulging out of the drawers of my file drawers. So what the Paper Tiger allows me to do here with this identifying a category, at some point I can take all of my Paper Tiger consulting clients, say I've got 112 of those. I can move all of those to a dedicated drawer for Paper Tiger Consulting. And then eventually what I would do is change the client name to Paper Tiger Consulting Client. So it helps to keep things as general as possible and then move the functionality of the drawer to another area. Okay, another thing that's helpful is that now we've got a little bit more information with that has been documented for reporting. Paper Tiger gives you a functionality where you can start reporting on how to use your file. Let's go ahead. Say, okay, right now we added like 6 or 8 different files. So we're going to go to report. Say I've only had an hour to work with my client, and we've started setting up their folders. And what I want to do is I want to go to Show Advanced Options under Item List Reports. And what I want to do is I want to look at all locations. We want to drop down, and we want to click all locations that we set up today. And I want to go in and in category, leaving blank to display items in all categories is fine. And I want to see them in item name order. So we want to click on the second tab, which means it wants to be the alphabetical ABC. And I want to generate a report of everything that we just input. So now, with this report, the Paper Tiger creates a PDF file that identifies all of the files that we just set up. There's so many advantages to this. And one of the advantages is obviously that you now can see the drawers that you set up. You can see in the alphabetical order, because a lot of times people get confused with the numerical, and they're like, oh, I need to see it alphabetically. Well, here you can see it based on this report. You can see alphabetically what is in that drawer, and then keywords to help you find it and remind you of what else you put in there, and notes that are calls to action that you would like to refer to when you go to these files. So this is something I recommend for everyone at the end of the day, after the day of setting up their Paper Tiger system. If you have multiple pages per drawer, which is often very common, what I do is I print out the item list report per location. So I would just print out a page for the actions, print out a page for clients and reference, and I would take those pages and stick them in the very front of that file drawer, and I file that name, I name that file index. So if you don't want to run to your computer and look it up, you can at a glance look at this file inventory list. Another advantage to doing the report like this is, I'll give you an example. I am working with a client right now, and I'm working with this client, and he is not there. But their department head has asked me to create a Paper Tiger system of all the files in this person's office. So what I've done is I created a reference file, and I've got about 400 files in that database right now, in that location. And what I'm going to do now is every day that I've worked there, I've printed off the reference file report, given it to the manager, and they can see the progress of what I did. So now they have a reference, and they can see what you put in there and can give you information to say, oh, add these keywords also. Now that I'm in reporting a little bit, Janet, let's look at another report that you can do as a result of using the Paper Tiger. We're going to go back to reports, close the screen, and we are going to go to my favorite, and it is the Cleanout Report. Okay, we're talking about the basics right now, about getting set up with the Paper Tiger, but one of the major values of the Paper Tiger is at the end, people always say, put in a drawer. I forget about it. I'll never get to it again. But when you have a file cleanout report, you can coordinate into your schedule some time to review your files without it being a whole weekend project. So what you will do is do a file cleanout report. And let's just look at we can look at all of them because we have so few in here. But if you have 300 in that reference file, you'll see the value of it here because you'll print out just that. And all of it is the same. We don't need to see anything else. We're going to generate the file cleanout report so I can get a quick glance at everything that I have in all of my file cabinets. Okay, so I just printed out a big report of everything that is in the file cabinets. And I really don't know how to, say I do not know how to make a decision with what I need to keep and what I need to toss and what just needs to go to off-site storage. So I can look at this clean-out report and review this with a manager or another person who's able to make decisions and have them decide with me using this report in their own time. They can just look at it, use these little boxes, review, toss, transfer, or no action. And after they're doing that, I can then have the work delegated back to me to clean out those files and do as it was directed and maybe toss them now or do nothing. Or where it's also incredibly helpful to transfer to is we can now, a lot of times managers say transfer this to off-site storage. And I'm going to give you a little hint that a lot of people today are, they want to start scanning paperwork because they don't want the physical files. But they've always been a little afraid to scan it because they couldn't find it later. And I'm just going to tease you that there's an opportunity for the paper tiger to be able to find electronic information later down the line. So keep in mind that you will be able to transfer it to electronic files later and still be able to find them. So the transfer option can include transfer to electronic, and people will be able to find it. So that's my 2 cents here now on report. So let's close out of that, go back to the locations, the database for the paper tiger. And I've got one more, we're going to go browse, we're going to go back to the action files. And I'm going to create a new file in there. And we're going to call it, I'm really excited about this. But let's see, we're going to call this item name Courage to Change. I think that was the name of it. I called it Courage to Change, something like that. And we're going to call it keywords, and we're going to say chapter written for book, notes, excuse me, the keywords is notes.
Oh, sorry.
Notes from publisher, and contract. All right, and then action date is going to be August. Oh, any date in August, and it's going to be released. So that's when it's going to be released. So notes, we're going to put in the notes, send press release. Add to website. Okay, and social media. All right, so we're going to go add to action. All right, yeah, add to action 5. Okay, so this is an ongoing project until August. I have these notes for this chapter I wrote for this book, and until it gets published, I want to have that information handy. Okay, let's say it's August. Everything's done, the book is published, I've done all my tasks. So what I want to do is I want to transfer that action file to a reference file. So we are going to edit that, we are going to transfer it, we are going to move it, and we are going to create a new location, a new item within reference. And the paper tiger asks you if you want to confirm it, and I generally say no because I'm going to be handling it right now. But if you're not going to physically file it right now, then you do want to say yes, remind me. But for now, let's say no thanks, and let's move this item. The paper tiger is going to take that action folder, and it's going to move it to the next number within reference. And usually it pops up and says it has moved to a reference number. And it moved to reference 4. So now what I do is you physically take the contents of that Pendaflex folder and I move it over to reference. And all I need to do is now pop all the data in there, and I can even update it now and change the notes and say what I did. I can maybe now add the press release into that folder. We can edit it. And we can add the notes that we have a copy of the press release. And, you know, I don't really care about the rest because it's already been done, so we can delete those notes. Then we can change the action date and just delete it because we no longer need it. And you can save the changes. So as you can see, with the paper tiger, I have been able to really make my files a living document or a working file, and there's nothing scary about putting things aside. Everything I have is at my fingertips, and I just work through my inbox and now know where everything is that I put away. Well, we're down to the last few minutes, so I didn't even have a chance here to see if there was anything we needed with questions. So let's take a look at the questions and see if there's anything I need to address. Or Janet, if you would like to add anything.
And while you're looking at the questions, I thought what I would do is let them see view reminders up here at the top. That's the little flag that pops up when you have a reminder that you need to view. Just click on that, and your reminders pops up here, so you can see what you need action on. Okay.
Okay, very good. One of the questions I have here is it says after you have entered the item name and you want to, can you change it to make them standard 2011 in front of items like tax or medical? Absolutely. So what you would do in that case is you would, it looks like they want to change action number 3. And they want to change the name to be 2011 medical. And that's a really good point because people think differently that, okay, 2011 medical might be the way they think of it. But I'm going to challenge you and say, you know what, though? I always say medical 2011. So let's go back there to that file, to action 3. And I'm going to go into the keywords. And in the keywords, I'm going to say medical 2011. So, and then hit Save Changes. And the reason I did this is I want to make it as easy as possible for everybody and anyone who is going to be referring to it. Because today you might be thinking 2011 medical. So in the search on the top search engine bar, you're going to type in 2011 medical. But tomorrow you might be saying it the other way around. It's kind of a funny thing. That's how people play on words with each other. Okay, the next question. Okay, this darn bar is so little, it's so hard to read. Okay, let's see. Do the action files include both home or personal items as well as business items? Does it matter if they are commingled? And that's a really good question, and people naturally always want to separate business and personal. That is just like the biggest natural resistance that people have. And it doesn't matter, because in the paper tiger, you can be listing a business file name and then a personal file name next. And then when you go to use the keyword, it may be babysitter list, and you just know that that's in reference number 6 because it was listed as part of the reference file. But what you may want to do, if it helps you later down the line, is change the category to personal and business. And as I referred to earlier with the client types categories, if you find out that your file drawers are overwhelmed with personal files and it's really not practical, by having the category set up, you can then create a report to look at all of those and to move them later into personal files. Okay, I hope that answers that question.
You can also select the category box here and be able to see your list of categories as well.
Great. Thanks, Janet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I like this one. Please ignore this question. I'm getting it now. Thank you. All right. Okay. Janet, do you have anything to add here? I just got...
No, go ahead.
Someone said is a paper tiger case sensitive when you add category. In what situation? I guess I'm asking as I'm always putting in a category. I don't think it's case sensitive, because what it's going to do is it's going to start. It'll do a drop down as soon as you start typing in the category letters. Okay. Any other questions? Can you receive email notifications? That's a great question. The Paper Tiger at this time does not offer email notifications with a reminder. Is that something that possibly we might be considering if Fred is still on the line?
Fred is not still on the line. However, I know that we do have that in the queue for our developers to consider for future enhancement. And I am, believe me, I am behind that 100%. So I'll be putting another bug in their ear, as I usually do.
Okay, I agree that that would just be a fabulous addition to the Paper Tiger.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we're about out of time here, and I know there's more questions. And as Janet said, that we will be responding to the questions on our website under webinars. And also, as you are registering for future classes, we do address the most common questions in the class, and I am more than happy to address you personally. If you would like to have a free 30-minute phone consultation with me, I'm happy to help you and give you that jump start that you need, or to just talk to you about how you can make Paper Tiger work better for your business, or just to help you in general.
That's great.
Janet, do you want to have any closing thoughts?
Yes, Ann, thank you. That's a great job you have done. We appreciate your time and the helpful tips that you give us each time we have a webinar. You can contact Ann at amcgurty@strategizeandorganize.com, or her phone number is 303-881-0174. And again, her website address is strategizeandorganize.com. I will be posting these on the webinar blog post. Go to our blog at thepapertiger.com, click on the blog tab at the top, and then drag down to under the categories webinar. So you'll be able to see all of the webinars that we've pre-recorded so far, and see Ann's information, as well as the answers to questions that we have received in the webinars. We want to thank you again for attending today's webinar. Just to let you know, we do plan, again, to post the recording on our website, so you can refer back to it whenever you need to. Please feel free to give us your feedback by emailing us anytime at sales@thepapertiger.com, or you could also comment in the blog category under the webinars. Also, you may know that our developers are working on a digital enhancement, I think Ann alluded to this, to Paper Tiger Online. So if you want to sign up to be one of the first to see and participate in the digital enhancement beta testing, you can do so by completing the survey. The survey is, the link is in our e-newsletters. So if you're not in our, on our e-newsletter distribution list, please sign up for that. Just a reminder for those who do not already have Paper Tiger, we are currently running a 20% off sale through April the 25th, and it is a great price. Ann, did you want to add anything else?